The organizations that do real damage come playoff time are built one of two ways. Either it's a great team with a good quarterback, or it's a good team with a great quarterback. You're not really allowed to be average in either of those things. And both need to be good and one needs to be great. It's very rare that you ever see a team go on a real run without that. And the difference between a good team and a great team, it can feel razor thin, but also a canyon at the same time because of that. So today, we're going to be talking a lot about the differences between what makes a team good and great, and maybe sometimes painfully average, with examples of all of those things. Again, some fan bases might not want to hear the ugly truth, but we're 10, 11 weeks into this thing at this point, and I feel like it's becoming a little bit obvious. So hopefully you guys enjoy the show. EJ, any words before we get started?
Buckle up. It's going to be pretty fun. All year we've been saying, once we get enough evidence, we have mostly enough evidence by now. So we've got some takes and we're going to back them up.
All right, Neil, without further ado, roll the intro. Welcome to the Bootleg Football Podcast. I'm Brett Coleman. That's EJ Snyder. And we have breaking news. We have yet another head coach that has been fired. So before we get into all the fun stuff about the good to great teams, we got to talk about one that unfortunately has been really, really bad this year. And that's the New York Giants, which even by Giant standards, this season's been pretty painful at times. EJ, what's your first reaction here? Because my first reaction was this is probably like, I don't know, a month late at this point.
Yes, maybe. This is a results-based league, and when you have a 336 winning percentage as a coach, you can make all the excuses you want about personnel, about injuries, about bad luck, and everything else. When you are a coach for as long as Daboll has been the coach of the Giants, and 336 winning percentage, according to Shield Kapadia, ranks 187th out of 204 coaches. That's just not getting it done. The offense currently 26th in EPA per drive. Quarterback who we're going to talk about today, who he couldn't win with, went to Indianapolis and is lighting up the league. We're not even going to talk about the defensive coordinator hire because I know Giants fans want us to, but it's only so they can light the torches. And then we're going to get into the bad game management, which is really the sort of nail in the coffin. I'm not surprised. This is, again, another first-round quarterback whose coach has been fired within or right after the first year. I beg of you, NFL teams, if you are going to draft a quarterback highly, that is in the first round or within the first couple of picks of the second round, pair him with a new coach. Do not pair him with an incumbent coach because that coach will get fired. Like, that is just the way it happens these days. So we've seen it over and over again. Both quarterbacks picked in the first round this year have already had their coaches fired. They're the two coaches who've been fired. So in terms of Daboll, the game management stuff was really the nail in the coffin. This comes from Joe Shane for MVP is the Twitter handle. Against the Cowboys, Broncos, and Bears, the Giants had 92%, 99%, and 96% chance of winning late in the fourth quarter. Daboll lost all of them. The odds of that happening is 1 in 60,000 if you take the three games.
And yet, if you're a Giants fan, it also felt inevitable. Like 1 in 60,000 is like, one of one, really.
He'll find a way. And if we're really laying blame, I'll let you talk about Daboll, but then we need to come back and talk about Mara and the GM as well.
It's all of it, though. Like, it's all of it. It's the rot in NFL teams tends to start from the top down, and typically the teams that are perennially bad, like both New York teams, it's an ownership issue, it's a roster construction issue, it's a coaching issue, and oftentimes it is also a quarterback and a roster issue, but those are the people that are in charge of putting everything together and making something cohesive and coherent. Like, to me, it's not really that shocking if you're looking at the difference between, the Colts power structure and the Giants power structure, why all of a sudden Daniel Jones is working. Now, He did turn the ball over quite a bit in the last 2 weeks, but still, like, as a concept, Daniel Jones is working a lot better in Indy because the people in charge are a hell of a lot more competent. Like, I've even had my issues with Chris Ballard as GM a lot in the last few years. He's still better than Joe Schoen, in my opinion, as far as roster construction. Like, he still has drafted better. I feel like financially they're in a better spot in terms of where their money is allocated and how they layer their contracts together, so that there's not really like one apocalyptic year that they're looking at down the road where like they're going to have to blow everything up for financial reasons. Like, everything seems to be, for the most part, really well managed. Carly Gordon turns out is a pretty darn good owner, like, so far. So it's like, you look at the difference in power structure and you're like, yeah, of course it works, right? And then when you get to the Giants, the dysfunction, the chaos, the complete lack of direction. It just feels like this franchise has been in this listless miasma, if that's the right word for it, since, I don't know, 2011, right? When Eli kind of carried them to a Super Bowl, and they just haven't really done anything since then, because Eli was really, like, truly what held them together. It was Eli and Tom Coughlin was what held them together. Everything else, not so much.
I would agree. And when you look at how this is done, the thing that this actually brought up for me was going back to the Bears ownership 4 or 5 years ago. And they were like, we want to model ourselves after the old school franchises. And the McCaskies literally brought up Pittsburgh and the Giants as like, we don't want turnover. And I was like, here we are 5 years later. The Bears finally zigged, right? They finally zagged. They did the thing that nobody expected them to do, hired the top coaching candidate, had him have some say in roster construction. You can't convince me that Ben didn't come in and say, we need offensive line in a different way. And now they're having success, right? And the Giants literally took the other path, going the other way. Sometimes just being the stability, quote unquote, in the league is not good enough. But this is the third time that Mara has fired a head coach without the GM being fired. Fired Coughlin, retained Jerry Reese. Then Reese and McAdoo got fired. Fired Pat Shurmur, retained, friend of the show, Dave Gettleman. Gettleman and Judge got fired in 2021 and fired Daboll and retained Shane. Fill in the blank. You can imagine what's going to happen. There'll be another coach here, be another year or two. They'll both go out. And I'm just going to end. We don't normally do jokes on this show, but I'm going to end with the Brian Daboll joke. Why don't you ask Brian Daboll change for $1?
Why?
Because he never gives you the fourth quarter.
God. Yeah, I could tell you're a dad.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. That was like, that's in there. Included, but it's tough for Giants fans. Look, we both know Giants fans, and it's a proud organization, but their roster's cool. Like, Jackson Dart is definitely a thing, if they can keep him from getting his head caved in. And that was really, I think, the sort of second nail in the coffin for Daboll is like, you can't protect him from himself. He is the most important asset on the field right now for the New York Giants. And he's been evaluated for concussions 4 times. He hasn't even started the whole season. Like, we cannot keep doing this. This cannot be allowed. And so that was sort of like, hey, the game management stuff is really terrible, but you're also endangering a guy that it looks like we took a chance on and is working. Then you add Neighbors in there and Scattaboo, some of the young linemen. I think they have some decent pieces on defense, definitely the defensive line, right? This is not a bad team from a roster building perspective. They still have work to do, but this is not the Titans, right? This is not the other team that's fired its coach this year. They still have a path forward with a good young core. They could make some noise here, but if that guy's on the sideline with his head bashed in, it's not going to work out for the Giants. So I feel for Giants fans.
That's the reason why I feel like it's been a month too late, is because from the beginning, Daboll, it felt like he was treating Jackson Dart as a lifeboat and not as like a long-term asset. It just felt like going into the tent, constantly putting him in danger with his play. Like, why are we designing runs for him right now when he is clearly not capable of protecting himself as a runner? Like, he hasn't learned any sort of like self-preservation skills whatsoever. And like, I love the kid. I really do admire his play style, but it reeks of like 2014, 2015 Cam Newton, where it's like, guys, you got to stop. Like you got to protect him from himself because he's not going to do it. And Daboll, it just felt like every single time he dialed that stuff up, he's like, Jackson, please save my job. And it's like, you got to save him, dude. You're the head coach. And It just felt like it like you saw it in his eyes, like even in the preseason, like he looked at Jackson. It's like, this is who's going to keep me here. Like he couldn't get off Russell fast enough. They skipped over Jameis. It was like, fuck it. Like if I'm going to stay employed, I need to put this kid on the field. And it never felt like he was thinking about 2026, 2027, 2028. He was thinking about 2025, which like I get it. I really do. But the organization needs to think about the long-term implications of how they've used Jackson Dart this year, because Brian Daboll wasn't going to do it. And again, I understand it, but I didn't like it. I didn't like how they were really kind of exposing Jackson to, again, way too many head injuries for a guy who's played less than 10 games in his career. So, you know, and not to mention, side note, you brought it up earlier, the game management decisions, like I expected so much better of him. Why the hell do you pass up an opportunity to potentially, it was going to go up, 24-10, I think was what the score would have been if they didn't keep sorry, I'm going to set the stage for everybody so you understand what I'm talking about, because some of you didn't watch this game. They had an opportunity to either keep a field goal on the board to have it be, I believe, 20-10, or you take a penalty and you put yourself at the 1 yard line to potentially make it 24-10 late in the game and really give yourself a much better chance of winning. Although knowing the Giants, maybe they would have blown it anyway, but still, like the fact that they kept the field goal on the board because I guess they were scared of fumbling, but it's like, you're going to be on the 1 yard line. Give yourself the opportunity to really take control of this game. And instead, they opted to keep the 3 and be hyper conservative. And obviously the Bears came back and won the game. But it's like, that was egregious game management that I can't imagine any sort of analytics models would have agreed with that.
And I don't think Brian Daboll really cares about analytics because, as Giants fans pointed out in my mentions when I talked about the Daboll firing, it's after his initial season, he has coached. A lot of them just say scared. They don't say conservative, right? He has coached not to lose. And we have seen time and again that if you really want to win in the NFL, you've got to push it. You've got to take those chances. You've got to give yourself the extra margin, because if you don't, other teams are really good at slowly chipping away those little bits. We're going to talk about the Texans game today. It happened there as well. And if you cannot put your stamp on a game, put your stake in the ground and just go own it, say, this is ours, we are taking it, you are going to lose more often than not. And Daboll, despite overwhelming evidence from his own experience and numbers and the rest of the league, still chose to sort of go forward that way. And I think combined with not protecting the primary asset on the roster, the Giants looked at it and went, I don't think that's going to turn around. Like, I don't think he's going to have a change of heart. If he was going to, he would have already.
This is kind of going totally left for me right now. The coaching not to lose bit has been what I've repeatedly been hearing from Packers fans today. Keep in mind, we're recording this on Tuesday morning. So the Monday night loss to the Eagles just happened last night. How many Packers fans were in your mentions saying that they feel like Matt LaFleur should be fired for the same reasons that Brian Daboll got fired? Because for me, it was way too damn many. Like, I'm sorry, these are not similar situations whatsoever. I understand the offense has been way less consistent than you want. I understand the play calling has been way more conservative than you want at times. There is no universe where I'm firing Matt LaFleur for a team that is still potentially going to win the division. Like, if you look at that defense and how good that defense is, okay, in their losses, they average allowing 13 points a game. And that's bad if you have 3 losses where your defense is only giving up 13. But at the same time, I know what this offense can be when they get healthy. They're down to like wide receiver 4 at this point, right? It's Christian Watson versus the world out there. They have Dontavian Wicks, who anytime you need him to absolutely catch the ball, and this is also goes for Romeo Doubs too, anytime you absolutely need him to catch the ball, you can guarantee he's not going to. Like, this offense finds ways to shoot itself in the foot. We have talked about it repeatedly. I still think that they can turn it around. I really do. And the reason why I have faith is because I've seen what Matt LaFleur's done in the past. I've seen what Jordan Love has done in the past. I've seen what Josh Jacobs has done in the past. I think ultimately they'll be fine. This is not the same thing as Brian Daboll with the Giants. It's not even remotely close. Packers fans need to calm down. They will be okay. Are they going to the Super Bowl? Probably not. But like, you're fine. You don't want to be out here, okay? Like, you don't want to see a world where you have a truly bad coach. And I mean like an actually really bad coach. Like, you guys are playing with fire here. You're asking to be Bears fans right now. You don't want that. Trust me.
I'll let them. That's what I say when people are like, oh, Matt LaFleur should be fired. I was like, yeah, sure. And can he take KOC with him? Like, maybe rope Dan Campbell into some kind of scandal. That'd be great. I would love that. But I mean, only from a competitive perspective. If I'm looking at the Packers, of course not. I would hate that. Anybody that's saying Matt LaFleur needs to be fired right now is silly. It's my favorite thing when there's one game. There was one game on Monday night, and both fan bases are like, this coach needs to be fired. Like, get rid of Sirianni, get rid of LaFleur. You think NFL coaches who are really good and have had a lot of success just grow on trees? They don't. The hit rates are not much better than the NFL draft. They're slightly higher, but I mean slightly. So go ahead, fuck around and find out. Get rid of a really, really, really good coach. We just talked last week about LaFleur's record at Lambeau, right? He's lost, before last week, he'd lost 12 games at Lambeau total in his career. The Panthers' loss was 13. You're like, you want to jettison that? Like, go ahead. Like, feel free. As a division rival, I fully endorse this plan. But other than that, just from a logic perspective, no, like, relax. It's okay. You're spoiled. And Eagles fans, you too. You're also spoiled. You've both been winning a lot. And your coaches, while we may have quibbles stylistically with both of them in certain situations, overall, they're getting pretty glowing grades from us. They are among certainly the top half of NFL coaches, could be the top third very easily. Calling for somebody for like that to be fired is, like you said, playing with fire.
And that's not to say that these coaches are above criticism. Like, absolutely, we can criticize LaFleur. We can criticize how apparently predictable they are in terms of when they're in no huddle and they get into short yardage situations. The Eagles had watched enough of that on tape this season to know immediately, like, oh, it's going to be an inside zone call if they run up to the line in no huddle. Like, we're just going to be ready for that. Like, Moro Ojomo was literally screaming, like, inside zone this way, because he just looked at where the back was lined up. And he's like, yeah, it's going to be inside zone. And it was inside zone, and they blew it up and basically ended the game right there. Like, yeah, we can criticize the predictability, but like that, they are not in fireable offense territory right now. Like, I've seen teams with actual bad coaches before where I was like, yeah, he needs to go. Like, in no way should Zach Taylor outlive Matt LaFleur this year. Okay. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same. Again, criticize, but you don't want to be out here with the rest of us. Believe me. All right. Now let's get to the teams that everything actually is going well for so far this year. The Pats and the Colts. If you told me preseason that apparently New England and Indianapolis were going to be, kind of going tit for tat and fighting for the number one seed in the AFC, and not Buffalo, not Kansas City, not Baltimore, I would have said you were insane. And yet here we are. As of right now, those are probably the two best teams in the AFC, two most well-rounded teams, and they are really good examples of what we talked about at the top of the show, which is either a great team with a good quarterback or a good team with a great quarterback. All right, New England, good team, great young quarterback in Drake May. I wasn't sure we'd get to the great status with him this fast, but I can't really deny it at this point. Like, Drake May is fucking great. And then you get the Colts, Daniel Jones, all of a sudden, good quarterback, hell of a team around him. Great team, weapons, offensive line, potentially MVP front runner at running back. And the defense is very opportunistic. Even if they're inconsistent, they're very opportunistic in terms of like really kind of bowing up what they need to, generating turnovers when they need to. Like, great team, good quarterback, good team, great quarterback. And these two formulas to me are at the top of the conference. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're going neck and neck the whole way to get that number 1 seed.
They're both ready right now, the Pats and the Colts, and that puts them slightly ahead of schedule. If you went back and watched our summer content, we said we thought both of these teams could be good. We did not have either one of them picked to lead their divisions, and certainly not this quickly, or in the case of the Pats, not in such a dominant fashion. And that's not a word I thought I would be using about New England this season. But don't look now, the Pats have reeled off 7 wins in a row, and they've got the Jets, the Bengals, and the Giants up next. That smells like it could be a 10-win team sooner rather than later, and cruising to the first spot in the AFC East. We thought that they were going to be dangerous. We liked the changes. We were hopeful about Vrabel sort of righting the ship because, again, it seems like a long time ago, but remember the Pats last year. Drake May was showing some flashes, but overall as a team, they were a dumpster fire. They were terrible. And coach gets fired, you get a new coach, you get another good draft, and suddenly they are reeling off wins week after week and looking like they fully expect to do that. You talked about Drake May and the greatness. The thing that strikes me week after week, and especially this week, is the incredible poise in the pocket right now. He is standing in the middle of just this maelstrom in the pocket, completely messy, late in the down. You're like, he's going to get crushed, and he'll get a chunk play. Like, puts it right on the receiver late in the down as the coverage breaks down. And he did it over and over and over again. And that is incredibly impressive. Young quarterback or not, it's incredible for any quarterback. And to see him doing that in the middle of his second season is same thing. He gets the nod for greatness. The Colts are a little bit different. They are, like you said, the construction's a little bit different. Daniel Jones definitely surprised us by just simply forgetting all of his bad habits from his first 6 or 7 years in the first 6 or 7 weeks. That typically doesn't happen, but they got smacked in the mouth in the Europe game, literally. Like, Daniel Jones ends up in the bench. Wear your mouth guards, kid. Ends up, bleeding from the mouth. But they just kept doing what they have been doing all year. They leaned on their offensive line and Jonathan Taylor, and it was enough. Like, this is a Taylor legacy game. It's literally his second highest rushing total of his career, 244 yards. 205 of those after contact, by the way. That's a ridiculous stat. 83-yard touchdown, longest in the NFL this year as far as a rushing touchdown goes. 5 runs of 10-plus yards in this one. 7 missed tackles forced. Like, it was a really impressive performance. But the backside of this one, and why I say they're a little bit different than the Patriots right now, I feel like the Patriots are kind of a train. They are absolutely rolling full speed ahead. And the Colts are still good, but the Daniel Jones magic, pixie dust, whatever, has worn off a little bit over the past couple of weeks. If you really go to the tape in this one, Jones started to last week, and then again this week started to look a little bit like the Giants version. He had 5 turnover-worthy plays in this one, took 7 sacks on only 14 pressures. And despite him falling apart a little bit, not to the end of the world, they still did win the game. The rest of that team, like you said, that great team around him, the rest of the roster buoyed it up, and they ended up taking a win in what was a hard-fought game. Is there cause for worry? Yes. Has he turned back into a pumpkin? I don't think so, but it's a significant
It's worry,
drop.
but not panic, right?
Yeah. When you look at this, and this is a stat from Sumer Brain, EPA per dropback for weeks 1 through 8, because again, those were the what happened to Daniel Jones weeks, 0.321 positive. Now, for those of you that don't speak EPA, it's very good. That is very efficient, explosive quarterback play. Last 2 weeks, it has dropped to negative 0.114. So he's gone from positive 0.3 to negative .114. That's a pretty significant drop, and it is illustrative of how he has played the last couple of weeks, which has been shaky. So, am I worried he's going to nosedive? I'm not. I think he'll stabilize, but he does have to get on it. They have to turn this trend around, because if they become one-dimensional with the run only, which is very good, that is also predictability. And just like you talked about with the Packers, predictability is not something you want from an offense of a team that has playoff aspirations.
The one difference that has been key for Daniel Jones in the last couple of weeks, because don't get me wrong, the ball security has been bad. Like, if there was one thing that was like his brand with the Giants, it was fumbling at like the slightest contact. I don't know why that is, but it feels like even if you just breathed on him in the pocket, he would fumble the ball. And we saw a little bit of that in the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, a lot of bit of that in the last couple of weeks, where he just fumbled at really random, inopportune times. And so he has to get that cleaned up. But the thing that's been the difference, in my opinion, is that he has balanced out those turnover-worthy plays with really, really good downfield throws. Like the one to Alec Pierce to take the early lead, or expand the early lead, was excellent. He's had a couple dimes to Warren. And, we saw like a little bit of that with the Giants, but not nearly enough to balance out the bad plays. He's at least balancing out the bad plays with dimes down the field and like really earning that Danny Dimes nickname. So that to me is progress. If he just goes back to cleaning up the really just shitty fumbles at the worst possible times, and you keep all the good stuff, all of a sudden they're going to be, rolling like they were in the first 8 weeks of the season. When their percentage of drives that ended in a score was like 80%, which is like, that is so unheard of. I don't think I've seen any other offense do that ever. In fact, they were outscoring even the top Peyton Manning-led Colts offenses over that time period, the top Andrew Luck offenses over that time period. Like, he was so hyper-efficient that even if he just dials back the turnover-worthy plays by like 50% and he's just turning it over at an average rate, they're going to be a wagon again. And I think it also speaks to how good the team is that even with him having that many turnover-worthy plays, they still handled the Falcons late when they needed to. And like, they really bowed up when they needed to. So it's a great team. Great teams overcome poor play like that. And when you have a potential MVP winner, Jonathan Taylor, that helps too, obviously. But like, overall as a team, they're just awesome. And then the Patriots. So two things have happened with them to like really, really help them take off. Number one, Drake May isn't just a downfield assassin when the pocket is clean. To your point, he has been phenomenal under pressure, to the point where I pulled this from Sumer and then cross-checked with other sources, as we tend to do here. But I had Sumer pull up the top five quarterbacks under pressure in the following metrics: yards per attempt, passing EPA per play, completion percentage, and average depth of target. So when you're avoiding pressure, are you actually pushing the ball down the field, or are you just taking checkdowns and see what you can get with Yak? Drake May is top 5, and in fact, he's top 3 in all of these, right? So he's third in yards per attempt under pressure at 9.55, which is crazy. The only two quarterbacks ahead of him are Darnold and, interestingly enough, Marcus Mariota. EPA per play under pressure, he was number 1 in the NFL, above Mahomes, above Darnold, ironically above Daniel Jones, and above Lamar. Completion percentage under pressure, 56.6%, which is, it sounds low, but again, under pressure, that's third best in the NFL. And average depth of target, he is right behind Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's at 10.99, so let's just call it 11. Drake May is at 10.81 yards average depth of target under pressure. So he's just been phenomenal in general. And then the second development has been TreVeyon Henderson, right? And I heavily advocated for basically the whole season, especially when all the other Patriots running backs were going through their fumble issues early on. I was like, please give TreVeyon Henderson the ball. He needs to get reps. And I got a lot of very understandable pushback from Patriots fans over this issue, I'd say, throughout the season, because they're like, okay, he's not ready. Insert complaint about vision here or pass protection there. And I totally understood that. Like, truly, I get that concern. But I was coming at it from a perspective of he's going to have growing pains no matter what. I wanted to get those growing pains out of the way as fast as possible. Because if you're looking at the offense he was coming out of at Ohio State, they were only under center about 8.5% of the time. You compare that to New England, they're under center about 48.5% of the time, the fifth highest rate in the NFL, which also speaks to, again, Drake May developing at warp speed because he also wasn't under center a lot at North Carolina, but he's been handling that just fine because he's a unicorn. That's not normal. But TreVeyon Henderson, whether you're running inside zone or outside zone or power or counter, like even if the concepts are similar to what you're doing at the college level, if you're doing it from under center and not from the gun more often, the pace of the run is different. The angles of the run is different. Like everything, not to mention NFL defenses are faster. And the lessons that he was learning, and like you can literally see it on tape and in the metrics. This is a very man blocking heavy team. He had 14 man blocking carries on man concepts, I should say, in weeks 1 through 7. And he's had 13 in the last 3 games, so roughly the same sample size. He was at 2.2 yards per carry in weeks 1 through 7 on those man-blocking concepts, which is their bread and butter. He was at 7 yards per carry the last 3 weeks because he needed to just kind of work through his issues. His issues being trying to be Le'Veon Bell, who, in my opinion, did irreparable damage to an entire generation of running backs because they all thought that you could just stop behind the line of scrimmage and wait for a block to develop. No, you can't. It's the NFL. You're not Le'Veon Bell. You don't have 4 Pro Bowlers in front of you. Get the fuck downhill, TreVeyon. Like, he had to learn that lesson, and you saw the difference, especially in that long run against Tampa, where he just hit the hole. He didn't do that kind of little skip step where he's like, oh, I'm going to try to like see where the defensive line or defensive lineman goes, and then I'm going to go the other way. It's like, you don't have time to do that in the NFL. You have to really be the one dictating, not the defensive lineman. You have to press him to one side and then cut off the other hip. You can't wait to see where he's going to go because he's waiting to see where you go. You have to be the dictator. And it took him a long time to learn that lesson, because they weren't giving him the carries to learn that lesson. Like, again, we're talking his 15th carry of the season on man blocking. That switch finally flipped. We could have done that, 6-7 weeks ago if we actually gave him the ball. So that's why I was advocating to play him. He was going to have to learn that no matter what. I would have liked to have him be through those issues by week 5, not week 10, but whatever. We're here. He's awesome. He's explosive, and he's just given this Patriots offense a dimension that they didn't have before, which is true game-breaking ability out of the backfield.
We were hoping for the explosion. That was a big part of his game in college, especially in the outside run game. He has some of it in the inside run game as well, and like you said, he has to figure it out, and it reminds me of what we started talking about in the beginning of the podcast with Jackson Dart. Like, hey, I can carry my play style over from college, and it'll work. No, you can't. Like, the NFL is going to punish certain things that you got away with at college because you were a transcendent player, because you were a great athlete, any number of things. And for TreVeyon Henderson, it was the same kind of a deal. Like, hey, I could get away with this at Ohio State and it would pay off, right? Didn't pay off. Oh, they're all bigger, faster, and smarter. Oh, tough. Okay, I have to do this differently. How do I have to do this? And I'm sure his running back coaches in New England were like, look, man, I know this is what you want to do, but this is what you have to do. And your point about manipulating defenders and manipulating leverage as a running back, dictating that with your steps, with your paths, and then using it to your advantage as opposed to just sort of reading and reacting, are something that I think all sort of college players coming into the league end up having to learn, whether it's corners or running backs or quarterbacks. Like, hey, this is what I need to do to be successful. I can't just say, hey, what are you going to do? And I'll take advantage of it. It's a very rare athlete at the NFL level that can play that way.
Before we get to our next game, we have Bootleg Shot of the Week. And this one's a very special Shot of the Week, EJ, because we have a new partner for Shot of the Week.
I am incredibly excited to announce that after long last, you all have asked for it forever. Why don't you guys have a liquor sponsor? Trust me, we've tried, but this is not just any liquor sponsor. I am extremely excited to announce that Woodinville Whiskey has stepped up and is going to sponsor Bootleg Shot of the Week. So it is from here on out going to be Bootleg Shot of the Week, sponsored by Woodinville Whiskey. For those of you that don't know Woodinville, it is a Washington company that was founded by a couple of guys sitting around drinking bourbon saying, hey, what should we do? I think we should found a bourbon company. So there's parallels with Bootleg because we're just a football company that was founded by a couple of guys sitting around drinking bourbon saying, what should we do? And we decided
with one of them named Brett, by the way. So
yeah, that's right. Two founders, local company. All the ingredients for their products are sourced within Washington. They are also distilled here as well. They are right up the road from me, but really fun partnership. We're going to have some merch. We're going to have some giveaways. We'll talk about those in a bit, but couldn't be happier to have Woodinville on board. They understand what we're trying to do. We certainly understand what they have done, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. They're great folks and can't thank them enough for stepping up and saying, we believe in what you're doing. Let's make some good stuff together.
Well, we picked an excellent time for them to hop on because our shot of the week winner this week, which, by the way, EJ is doing a shot for two because I still have, let's just say, conflicts with medications that would be irresponsible for me to do this shot right now at, I'm not even going to say the time in the morning it is, EJ.
Yep. Nope. Don't need to.
Our first shot of the week winner while partnering with Woodinville is show favorite Darnell Wright, as you all probably anticipated that it would be, because he could be nominated every single week for the stuff that he does to defensive ends. Shamar Stewart, unfortunately, was his victim last week. Spoiler alert, he's nominated again this week for what he did to Brian Burns. We could probably nominate him every single week, but Darnell Wright, past, present, and future Bootleg Shot of the Week champion.
And I'm not at all sad about the fact that I have to take two of these this week because I actually went out to the store, and for now, the shot of the week is Woodinville's bourbon finished in port casks. And all of you out there know that port casks are basically a cheat code for bourbon, but this one is particularly smooth and I like it a lot. So the fact that I have to do your shot for you this week is not a sad occurrence whatsoever.
They do a lot of fun experimentation too. I got the muscatel finish back there. I got the rye. I got the port cask. I think they did. Well, actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the one that they have coming up next. So, because I don't know when that's releasing, I just won't say that one. Nope. But they do a lot of experimentation there. So we'll leave a link down to that below, by the way, if you want to check out what they have available online. Or if you live in Washington, just go out to Woodinville and go to their tasting room. Now, as for this week's nominees, as I mentioned, Darnell Wright, the one-arm bandit. You could never tell that he's actually playing with an elbow injury, by the way, because he is so freaking strong, even with one arm, his injured arm even. Brian Burns, he just barely touched him. He really did. And we have video of this over on the Patreon in the public poll, by the way. He barely touched him, like just swiped at his chest, and he immediately fell on his ass to the ground. Darnell Wright is just unbelievably strong. He does this every single week to Pro Bowl and All-Pro caliber edge rusher. So he's our first nominee. Second nominee, Ty Okada, who's been making a lot of plays over in Seattle. Like every week he does something cool. Absolutely tattooing Elijah Higgins over the middle, getting the PBU. James Pierre. I don't know how this was legal, but apparently it is. Completely. Would you call it a suplex? It's kind of a suplex.
It's a full wrestling move. I'm not fully well versed in professional wrestling terminology, so I'm just going to give James Pierre the, wow, you didn't drop him on his head, so you didn't get a penalty, but you did everything else.
And then our last nominee for the week, Kate Otten. Well, he's not the nominee. Kate Otten got sandwiched between a dual nominee of Craig Woodson and Gonzo, who both just kind of slammed the elevator doors on him from both sides at the same time. And again, Kate Otten avoided catastrophe narrowly on this one. But hell of a play by them. Again, that Patriots secondary is young, but they are fast and they are aggressive. And if you throw seams against them, it will not be uncontested, generally speaking. So those are our four nominees. Again, if you want to see videos for all four of these nominees, as well as vote for next week's Shot of the Week winner, you can do so on our public poll on the Patreon. You don't have to be a patron to vote for it, but we'd appreciate if you became one. And that is also linked down below. Speaking of Woodinville, by the way.
I'm about to speak of them again right now.
How many shots is that now, EJ?
Well, after editing, it will be 2.
But we also partnered with Woodinville to do a barrel pick for Bootleg, our first barrel pick. And so we went through the process of doing tastings of different barrels that they had. And they do it's like half art, half science here. They have different barrels from like different elevations in the rick house and different areas that get different moisture levels and different temperature levels. And I mean, hell, the ABVs on these are all different too, or the proofing is all different on these too. So they range from like I think it was 111 to 119 was the hottest that we tasted. Went through a bunch of different samples, chose our barrel. We got how many bottles out of it? 130?
There will be, I'm going to say how many are available for sale because we get some as well. There are going to be just over 125. It could be up to about 130. Again, barrels evaporate at a different rate. The Angel share is different. This was a short barrel, according to Woodinville, and they actually like that because with more evaporation comes more concentration, more flavor. So they never really know until they go to barrel all the bottles, how many bottles will come out of a specific barrel. So the bottles that came out of this barrel will be for sale on their website. And we are going to announce a time when they will go live for sale so they don't sell out before you get there. And if you want one, I would highly encourage it. Brett and I picked this because not only we liked it, we thought you would like it as well. It has a tremendous flavor. It is aggressive. It is not for the faint of heart. If you're new to bourbon, this might not be your first taste, but it is delicious. And we wanted to try and make sure that it was available as widely as possible. And this was the best way to do that. We're also going to send the winner of the underdog contest a bottle of this. But right now, and you haven't even seen this, I'm going to put the final sticker up on the screen, or have Neil do it. The sticker that's going to go on the back of the bottle. Strangely enough, we've learned quite a bit through this process. It's been a cool process. The front label is completely determined by federal regulations. We have a tiny little box where we can put a line of text in, but everything else has to be approved by the feds. We were like, well, that's cool, but it's not a lot of branding. They were like, you can put whatever you want on the back of the bottle. And we were like, all right. So there will be.
We're like, the government shut down right now. So is it all just kind of like everything's good, or
are they even checking?
No, you will get prosecuted later. Trust me. We're like, okay, we'll do it the right way.
So we get the back real estate of the bottle, and that sticker right there, which I'm pretty proud of, is going on the back of the bottle that you will be able to buy from Woodinville. Again, we will announce the release date once they are all bottled and stickered up and ready to go. And we're really excited for all of you to try this. We love Woodinville. Obviously, Brett has 5 of them on his shelf, and we weren't sponsored. So it's a very natural partnership. And this has been a tremendously fun process. And, to bigger and better things in the future. If this goes well, who knows what could happen.
And a reminder, even if you are new to bourbon, and this is very aggressive for you, the good news is that it's basically all downhill from there. You're going to be fine with everything else you drink for the rest of your life.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's very high quality. It has some delicious notes in it. I can't wait because, again, we tasted all these and they had, what are they, 4-ounce bottles? They're
around there,
small.
yeah, 4 to 6.
Yeah. Mine's gone, and I've just been like counting the days. I'm like, when are you bottling? I really want some. It's really good. So we think that you'll all love it because it is delicious. It is supremely well crafted. Woodinville, known for that in the market in terms of what they build, in terms of their bourbons, and this is a fantastic example.
And reminder, if you do win our season-long pick'em contest at Underdog, we're sending you that bottle for free. So we don't have very many of them, but if you win that contest, you're getting one of them. All right, next game on the docket. I don't want to lose the forest through the trees on this one, right? Because as easy as it is for me to sit here and victory lap and talk shit and say, oh my God, the Texans were down by 3 possessions to start the fourth quarter. They came back and won the game. It's not even really about that to me because the Texans still have their issues. Like those issues didn't just go away, right? They scored their first touchdown from inside the 3-yard line of the season in this game. Like, they still struggle to run the ball in short yardage. We just saw that last week. They still struggle to do that. It's just that the Jacksonville Jaguars are even better at shooting themselves in the foot than Houston is. And this was just like the same version of the first time these teams played this year, but with more points involved. Like, the first time they played, it was, oh no, you win the game, sir. No, we couldn't possibly imagine that. You win the game. And they were just constantly handing the ball back to each other for fucking 60 straight minutes. This game was similar, where it was two teams competing to lose. And Jacksonville was just better at it this time, like Houston was the first time. And if you're looking at the penalties, there was 20 total penalties in this game. Jacksonville had 9, Houston had 11. There was 4 turnovers in this game. It wasn't even Trevor's fault. Like, it's so weird how I brought up very real criticisms with Trevor when they were 4-1, and a lot of Jags fans crucified me for it. And now they're crucifying Trevor, and I'm like, I mean, it really actually wasn't his fault. So we kind of switched places now, where it's like, okay, he only had one bad miss. They only had one drop in this game. It really wasn't Trevor's fault. It was really more so the offensive line and defensive line's fault. So it's like, I think I'm in a better place with Trevor now than a lot of Jags fans are, but I really can't imagine that they're going to go far in the AFC if they even make the playoffs when you have a pass rush that can't get sacks. I mean, they can get pressures, but they can't get sacks.
Yep.
And an offensive line where you have Walker Little, left tackle, who's given up 6 pressures in one game. He gave up almost a 20% pressure rate in this game, which for a left tackle is terrible. In the fourth quarter, they gave up 100% pressure rate as a unit. There was not a single pass attempt in the fourth quarter that Trevor Lawrence was not under pressure. So it's like, you can't win in the AFC if your defensive line can't produce and if your offensive line is allowing the other defensive line to produce at 100% rate. Like, I don't want to say they're dead in the water, but they're bleeding in the water, and I don't see any boats around for them to climb out. So I don't know, man. It's kind of an impossible situation here.
Let me just take you through like how this happened. I'm not talking about the entire game. 1:30 to go in third quarter. Jacksonville scores to lead 29-10, and they miss the 2-point attempt. At this point, to your point, the Texans have issues. They had 37 yards of offense in the second half at this point. Like, we're talking about moving into the fourth quarter, they had 37 yards of offense. Very next drive, Mills puts 2, not 1, 2 passes in harm's way. I agree that he's a very good backup, but this is why he's a very good backup and not a very good starter. Both were nearly picked. They're living dangerously. Like, if either one of those is picked, they probably don't win this game. Fourth quarter, 12-16. Mills finally breaks the sort of siege, throws a dart to Higgins, and the rally is on. Next drive, Danielle Hunter goes off. He makes his own opportunity here. We're talking about making your own luck. Stuffs the run to create 3rd and long, and then uses that to get himself a sack, his 3rd of the day on the very next play. Like, that was just Danielle Hunter being, for lack of a better word, a hunter.
Yeah.
Collins immediately makes a, how did he do that catch in traffic deep down the middle? That is not going to show up on catch of the year rolls, but it probably should. Like, that catch should not have happened. But Nico Collins is Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz then tiptoes the end line for the touchdown. They fail on the 2-point conversion. Now 29-24. Again, was 29-10, then 29-18. Now 29-24. So defense, to your point, forces 4th down really quickly. Second straight 3 and out at that point for Jacksonville. But then Jacksonville, to their credit, comes up with a really good punt. They pin Houston at their 6 with 6:10 left in the game, leading 29-24. You're like, this is setting up pretty well. Jacksonville defense has played well this year. Like, this is okay. Texans go all the way down. They get the DPI. They're at the 2. False start. Out to the 7. Woody Marks gets stuffed. 2-yard loss. Another false start, just because 1's not enough. Back to the 14. from the
Classic
2.
Texans.
Classic Texans, right? 3rd and goal. Mills runs it in, doesn't throw it in. No, he actually takes off on his horse, gets the pylon. Jacksonville, boy, this has got to be the tough loss if you're a Jags fan. Like, make it happen. Nope, can't do it.
And I think it's the lack of finishing that, if I was a Jags fan, would really bug me the most, because again, they have invested so much in the defensive line, right? Like, they're paying Josh Hines-Allen, I think it was $141 million, right, on his deal. You take Trayvon Walker first overall, which, by the way, Trayvon Walker turned into a good player. Arguably is their best defensive lineman when he's healthy, which he's not right now, but when he's healthy, arguably their best defensive lineman. Eric Armstead, they brought him in, and returns I think have been mixed. And then as far as interior defensive linemen around Eric Armstead, they're getting nothing out of any of them. And you end up with a defensive line that, again, gets a lot of pressures. Their edge rotation is 9th as far as pressure percentage on true dropbacks, but their defensive interior is 26th. And so you have all these edge rushers that are flying upfield and trying to get the corner, but you have no interior pressure, so the B gaps just open up like chasms because there's nothing actually compressing in the front of the pocket, so quarterbacks can escape really easily and get out of those pressures, hence their really low sack conversion percentage. I mean, hell, that's what happened with Davis Mills on the go-ahead touchdown. Davis Mills is like, he can scoot a little bit, but that's how I would characterize it. I don't characterize him as mobile. But when you have Josh Hines-Allen flying up the field and Trayvon Walker immediately winning off the edge, but I think it was DeJuan Smoot was the interior defender, getting nothing as far as pocket compression. And so the B gap just completely opens up and he just runs out and gets an easy touchdown because Devin Lloyd, for whatever reason, just didn't notice him running. And then I think you had, was it Newsome? I think was the DB that had an angle on him and just ran into Devin Lloyd. And so basically nobody was there to meet Davis Mills at the pylon, despite him having literally 14 yards of track in front of him for people to, I don't know, react at some point. Hines-Allen was jogging behind him, after he overran the angle. So again, it's the lack of finishing that just kills me, where you have these edges that are winning, but they're not getting any help from the interior. And then even when the interior does win, the edges aren't. So you just end up with quarterbacks being uncomfortable, but not actually hitting the ground. And, we talk so much about how pressures are important, but if you're not actually turning those pressures into anything, it's just kind of empty calories. So this team can't finish in the fourth quarter. They can't protect Trevor in the fourth quarter. Then you throw in the games where they do have a lot of drops or when Trevor is not actually performing well. And it's just kind of a choose your own adventure for how you lose the game, because it's going to be something. Like every week, it's going to be something. You don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be one of their critical issues. And at this point, I feel like they have too many issues to solve in 1 year. Like they really do. And we talked at the top of the show. You can either be a good team with a great quarterback or a great team with a good quarterback. I think they kind of might be average in both, right? So how do you fix that right now? Like, you traded up for Travis Hunter. Unfortunately, he's injured, so you're down on assets for next year's draft when you really do desperately need them. Like, they need interior pass rush. They need a better left tackle situation, because I just don't think Walker Little is their long-term answer there. I don't know, man. I really and God, what do you do with Trevor at this point? Like, I don't know with Trevor either.
I was waiting for you to get to that point of like, so you paid the guy millions of dollars, and again, a couple of years ago at the end of the season for 6 or 7 games, he ascended. He became that guy, the guy that was winning them games. And we were like, cool. Again, falling for our own trap and thinking progression was linear. Nope. We've seen it in drives. We saw it in the final drive against Kansas City. We've not seen it since then in terms of sustained game to game. I'm going to make the difference. I'm going to get you those key third down conversions. I'm going to get you those key scoring opportunities in the red zone. It just hasn't happened for Trevor, and you have so much money invested in him. Like, if he's not doing that, then what? It's very hard to go back to the pool and say, well, we're going to, again, put assets that we don't have, that we traded for Travis Hunter, into drafting a quarterback highly, or we're going to wait another year and just sort of lose these devastating sort of games where going into the fourth quarter, we were in control. We had them, for lack of a better term. Our defense should be able to make sure that they don't overcome us in 15 minutes, but they did. And it's not a rarity in Jacksonville, and I don't know what the answer is there. It is up to their Wonder Kid GM to find a way out of this corner they've painted themselves into, and I am, for once, glad not to have his job.
By the way, side note, because I do want to give Texans their due in some regards. Great game by Davis Mills overall as backup, getting that win. That's what you pay him to do, right? That's what you pay your backup quarterback to do, is like, just get us the one win we need you to get before the starter comes back. He did his job. Great. Worth every penny. But I also want to give the Texans credit for Ariante Urzuri's development over the last 4 weeks. Obviously started out rough. I mean, as did most Texans offensive linemen this year. And they still, I don't believe, are a good run blocking unit, especially in short yardage. Like, they just don't really get pushed with their interior trio. That's something they're going to have to figure out in the offseason. But as far as pass protection goes, the Texans tackle group has played so much better in their last 4 games. In Urzuri's last 4 games, he's only given up 11 total pressures, no sacks. The Broncos defense did light him up a little bit, but they, again, were not able to cash in on those pressures to turn them into sacks against him specifically. And if we have a rookie left tackle going against arguably the best defense in the NFL, and that's the only kind of real bad game that he's had over a 4-game stretch, we'll take that, especially for a day 2 pick. So Urzuri's development has been rapid over the last couple months, and the Texans desperately needed that, because they needed a tackle, specifically a left tackle, that could actually hold up in pass pro, sans Laramie Tunsil, and he seems to be a guy that's working out. So, hopefully he can be like their Donald Penn. Like, if he can be that solid, above average left tackle that you don't have to pay a lot of money, but you're getting, him kind of punching above his weight class, so to speak, financially, like, that's a great pick for them.
No, fully agree. And I know you had your doubts. We will acknowledge those openly, but it is working out as well as can be expected. And credit to Nick Caserio, who is currently pointing his finger at you saying, yeah, what about that?
Oh, I still got my issues with Nick. I sure. Still do. I think overall, I think he's a good drafter. I think he's done well financially as far as getting deals done early on in the timetable. And the Stingley deal, I think, is going to age really, really well. What he did for Danielle Hunter this offseason, like, yes, he gave him a raise, but like, you see Danielle Hunter's worth it. And if you're looking at what the top of the edge market is now versus what he's getting and what Will Anderson's about to get, like, he's doing well there. Like, I really do. It's just, I wish that the plan for offensive line was not just, please save us, Ariante Urzuri. Like, I wish there was a little bit more there, but it's fine. It's fine, EJ. We'll deal with it in 2026. Today's show is brought to you by Chubbies, who conveniently recently got an NFL license, so now they can make team apparel like the Seahawks polo that I have on right now. Beyond these performance polos, they also have swim trunks and mesh shorts for every single team and every single fan base. Or even if you're not a 49ers fan, but you just happen to really, really like George Kittle, they also have a whole line of apparel just with George. These are great for tailgates or pool parties or golfing or stuff that you're not really going to do this time of year anyway, but still, eventually, it's going to get warm again. So if you just want to future-proof your wardrobe, or maybe you want to shop for another NFL fan in your life for this holiday season, go check out the catalog over at Chubbies. And if you go to chubbyshorts.com/bootleg, you get a $10 discount on your order as well. Again, chubbyshorts.com/bootleg. Check out the catalog, get that $10 discount, and we thank you, Chubbies, once again for sponsoring the show. With that, let's get back to it. What is not fine is the Buffalo Bills. They can't decide if they want to be for real or not. And like every single week, it's just this up and down roller coaster. Okay, we get our shit rocked by the Atlanta Falcons, and then we go out and we beat the Chiefs, then we get our shit rocked by the Miami Dolphins, and it's just up and down and up and down and up and down throughout the entire year. And when you're looking at what the good Bills look like versus what the bad Bills look like, there's really one through line, and it's the good Bills run the ball, and the bad Bills, as crazy as this sound, try to have Josh Allen carry the load. This is not me saying that Josh Allen's not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but they don't win that way. They win by James Cook being the engine, not Josh Allen being the engine. And every time they stray from that formula, or even every time they try that formula and fail, shit goes south really, really fast. And we saw that happen against Miami. They strayed from that formula and shit went south really, really fast.
Yeah, the Bills have been begging to get their later season date in Miami forever. This has been the sort of Bills and Bills fan rallying cry of don't put us in the freaking cauldron of Miami in the early season when it's 1,000,000 degrees and we melt. Schedule makers finally gave it to them and they wasted it. Like immediately they melted. Came out flat, and to your point, they had the wrong ratio. Josh Allen threw in this one 40 times, and James Cook ran 13 times. As much as we talk about all the vagaries of football and all the distinctions and the stats and this, sometimes it's really simple. That ain't it. To your point, James Cook needs to run it more. Josh Allen needs to throw it less because he's a transcendent player, but we saw this before Joe Brady took over as the OC when Ken Dorsey was there. If you have Josh Allen throwing too many times, it is not the most effective version of Buffalo. With James Cook developing, that is their way through. It's a recipe for Buffalo to lose if James Cook runs 13 times. That's just not right. And I've been saying this the entire season. Again, took some heat for it, but this team's lack of an outside threat, a true X, something they really haven't had since Stephon Diggs, is killing them. Keon Coleman was targeted 8 times. It's not that they didn't try. They did try. He caught 3 of them. Like, I know they want him to be a thing, but wanting a player to be a thing and having it are 2 different things. He's not that guy. Not saying Keon's not a good player, that he's not useful in the NFL. He absolutely is. As the guy you need to throw to when you have to have it, he's not that guy. And
yeah, he's not Stephon.
That's okay. He can be a very valuable piece, but they want him to be that piece, and he's not, and they don't have anybody else on the roster that can be that. So they have to become sort of one-dimensional, and when they are stuck with Josh throwing 40 times or more, which they've had in the past, the other guys aren't getting it done. Like Dalton Kincaid's not going to win that consistently. Khalil Shakir, ton of catches in this one, very low in terms of output per catch. Like he's going to make the catches, but is he going to break the game wide open? He's not. So they're lacking that piece, and it's sort of forcing them into a corner and making them the worst version of themselves. And I don't love that. On the flip side, Dolphins need some credit here. This wasn't just the Bills losing the game. Tua kind of leapt off the scrap pile here, and we have been Tua defenders for the last couple of seasons when he's been playing really good football.
Not as much this year, but before that, sure.
Not this year. In previous years, we have been like, hey, Tua's playing some good football. And of course, everybody, including Dolphins fans, has been like, no, you're wrong. He's not. He actually was. So I went to Sumer and looked it up. His EPA per drop back in weeks 1 through 9, every week, but this one, negative 0.13. Again, earlier in the show, we referenced this, Daniel Jones getting to a negative 0.1. For those of you that struggle with decimals, Tua's was way worse for the entire season. Week 10, 0.4. Negative 0.01 to positive 0.4. He actually sort of looked like old Tua for flashes here, and that is a very good thing, but that's a ridiculous jump. And Bradley Chubb on the defensive side was on an absolute heater. He had 8 total pressures in true pass set situations, 35.3% win rate. That's 1 on every 3rd true passing rep. That's incredible. And everybody talks about the passing game, Mike McDaniel, how it's high powered, or it was, hasn't been this year. The guy that's killing it this year on this offense, Devon Achane, remains a monster. Had 174 rushing, 7.9 per, 2 touchdowns, 51 yards receiving at 8.5 per. He will kill you any way you let him, and he has every game this season. Devon Achane is an absolute beast who is mired in a poor team situation, but as an individual player, absolutely a huge reason that the Dolphins come out with this win over the Bills.
We have talked a lot today about predictability in terms of you get into certain situations and the opposing offense and or defense knows exactly what you're going to do. The Bills have been absolutely gutted by predictability this year, and that has reflected itself in the run pass rate that you brought up, right? 40 throws, 13 carries for Cook. And there are some Bills fans that are like, okay, but we were down. We have to throw a lot. You really don't. Like, you can run your way back into a game if you allow yourself to run your way back into a game. You have to have a good run game to do that, but the Bills do have a good run game, and they just, for whatever reason, when they get down, they panic, and they stop running the ball to the point when they're in 2nd and long situations this year, so 2nd and 7 to 2nd and 10, they're 30th in run rate, despite being a good running team. Like, they completely panic. Like, the actual number on that, as far as run play percentage, is 17.6%. So if you get a win on first down, like defensively speaking, if you get a win on first down, you get them into 2nd and long, you know that they're going to throw the ball. And what has compounded that issue is that because teams know they're going to throw the ball, they tend to dial up some really exotic shit on 2nd and long, right? And I have noted this to 3 separate games now. When teams show 0 in those types of situations and they try to bait Josh into getting into like a 0 beater and then they drop out into zone coverage, his first reaction is not, I'm going to sit in this pocket and find my answer. His first reaction is, I'm going to run. Like, he's not seeing the field well either. And so when you get them into these passing situations by their own doing, not by like having to pass, they just choose to pass. When you get them into these passing situations and you know that Josh isn't seeing the field well, and you call up something exotic and he's going to kind of freeze a little bit or just be a tick late on it, that's how you get into 3rd and long all of a sudden, right? And it happens over and over again in these games that get away from them, where they lose on first down, that leads into a loss on 2nd down, or just lack of gaining anything on 2nd down. They end up in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 the entire game. And as good as Josh Allen is, off script, out of structure, if you're living in 3rd and long the entire game and you're basically relying on him to just make magic happen out of structure on every single 3rd and long, you're gonna lose. So it's a combination of predictability and play calling, with Josh not particularly playing well, with not really having any sort of vertical speed to speak of. And I know guys ran 4.3 that are on the team. There's play speed and there's time speed. They do not have vertical speed. Like, safeties are not scared of them whatsoever. They're not opening up, which means space is compressing from the top down. So you're not really getting anything out of the intermediate pass game either, because the safeties are just ready to nail down on everything because they're not scared of getting beat deep. The corners are not threatened outside. So Josh has to thread needles in and around linebackers over and over and over again. That's not a recipe for success, especially if it's happening on 3rd and 8 every single drive. So like, it's everything together. Quarterback not playing well, lack of speed, lack of any sort of creativity in play calling and play call sequencing. And you end up with games like this where they just get away from you. And when you also factor in that their defense is super banged up, like, I'm not saying the Dolphins offense are world beaters here, but like, they still got players. They still got Jalen Waddle. They still got Devon Achane. So if you're playing with half a defense against that, like, they're fucking fast. Like, they can score on you immediately. And they did. And all of a sudden you're in a hole on the road and you got to find a way out of it. And they can't do that right now. So like, I see, this is going to sound so weird, I see the Bills in a similar place to the Jags, where I'm like, are you a good team with a great quarterback? Or are you an average team with a great quarterback? You can't be average in anything. You can't. And I feel like they're an average team with a great quarterback. It's just not enough. It's really not. Like I don't think that they're going to win the division because of that.
I would say they played down to their average tendencies, which is even more frustrating because you could be above average if you leaned into your strengths, but you don't.
We will get right back to the show in just a second, I promise. But first, we're coming up with the holiday season pretty quick here, and the best possible gift you could ever give to yourself is making sure you are healthy. That means having consistent annual checkups, making sure that anything that doesn't look normal or feel normal gets checked out, having a better nutritional regimen as well. And even though I myself already have a doctor that I really like, I have to assume that some of you listening and watching to this right now maybe don't have a doctor already. And if you happen to count yourself among that group, today's sponsor, ZocDoc, might be able to help you with that. On ZocDoc, you can find and book doctors in your area that fit your needs and preferences. It's free, both as an app and as a website, and you can search and book doctors in your network, of course. Anything from dental health to mental health, primary care, or urgent care. And appointments on ZocDoc can happen fast as well. If you need something, 24 to 48 hours out because it's a little bit more of a pressing issue, odds are you can probably find something in your area that quickly. Again, if I didn't already have a doctor that I happen to like a lot, ZocDoc is what I would use to find my new one. So if you want to check it out for yourself and see what they have to offer, go to ZocDoc.com/bootleg. That is ZocDoc.com/bootleg. Again, ZocDoc.com/bootleg.
And that's actually a really good segue for how we're going to end the show today. We're going to do a speed run of all the divisions for you and lay out three things like we promised at the top of the show. We have takes. We've seen a lot of football at this point. We're going to lay out three things. Who we thought would lead. That's who we predicted to win the division in our summer series. Who's leading at this point and who we think will end up on top of the division at the end of the year. We're going to go fast, but we're going to start, appropriately enough, with the AFC East. So we both thought Buffalo would win this division. Currently, New England is leading the division. Who do you think is going to win the division at the end of the year?
100% the Patriots, for every reason I just laid out in both segments today on the Bills and the Patriots. The Patriots are a good team with a great quarterback. The Bills are an average team with a great quarterback. I also think the Patriots have the better coaching staff. Like, they have more ways to win, more tools to beat you with. And they finally found a run game. Like, it's New England. Like, with a bullet, it's New England.
Yeah, I think it's New England as well because they feel like, again, I said earlier, they're a train. They have momentum and they're building. And right now, Buffalo is stumbling. And if you told me that in the summer, I would have said, nah, I don't believe it. Again, the Patriots are ahead of schedule, folks. All right, AFC North. We both thought Baltimore would win. That was not a strange thought this summer. Currently, Pittsburgh is leading this division. Who do you think is going to win it at the end?
It's still Baltimore. Like, there's a reason why they were coin flipped to win it even when they were 1-5, and that's because everybody else had eyeballs and they saw what the other teams were, right? Like, since he's been a mess for the most part. Now, they're less of a mess than they were under Jake Browning, but the defense is still so messy that it doesn't even matter how many heroics Joe Flacco has. Like, they're still going to lose games just because their defense is so bad. The Browns are rebuilding, to be kind.
The Browns.
The Browns. And the Steelers just, like, there's something there, but I don't know that they're going to be able to hang on long enough for Baltimore to not just walk them down by the end of the year. Like, you could sell me on them being a 7 seed or a 6 seed, but like, they're so unbelievably inconsistent that I don't feel like that they're going to hang on against Baltimore for the rest of the year. And they're like, Baltimore's barely behind them at this point, like, because they're on a roll now. So I feel like Baltimore's going to walk them down by the end, and like, maybe Pittsburgh is a wild card team, but I don't see anything more than that.
Yeah, Baltimore's building momentum. We said a week ago we thought they were still going to win the division, which, again, the odds makers agree with us there. We're not out on an island by ourselves. I think Baltimore wins this division as well. AFC South, near and dear to your heart. I thought Jacksonville was going to win this one. I don't remember who you said was going to win this one.
I think I picked Houston.
Okay, so Houston. Currently, The Colts are leading. Who do you think's going to win it at the end?
Oh, Colts. Like
I would say
not even a
Colts as
question.
well.
Not even a question.
In terms of how this division has shaken out over the course of the year, I would agree with you. All right. Pivoting to the AFC West. We both thought Kansas City was going to win this division. Currently, Denver's leading this division. Who do you think is going to come out on top at the end in the AFC West?
2 answers. So, because of the early hole Kansas City was in, and because of their most recent loss, which was really, really derailed them. Like, I thought they could have won the division if they didn't lose that last game. I think Denver's going to win the division, but I think Kansas City goes farther in the playoffs. So take that how you will.
No, I completely agree. I think it is the perfect 2-part answer. Again, Broncos currently 7-2, Chargers 6-3. I think Chargers need to come into this discussion because they feel a little bit to me like the West Coast version of Pittsburgh. Like, they show up sometimes. Their offense is good some weeks. Their defense is great other weeks. What are they really? Again, they're sitting at second place in the division right now, 6-3, a game ahead of the Chiefs, a game behind the Broncos. They're the wild card for me here. I think the Broncos are going to continue to win games. Peyton's coaching really well around, I would say, Bo Nix's deficiencies. Chargers are sort of in that spoiler role. They keep finding ways to win games maybe that they shouldn't. And then I'm with you. As soon as you get the Chiefs anywhere near the playoffs and they smell that, they're going to continue to play really well. So I think the Chiefs might have the most success out of this group, but I'm not sure that Broncos-Chargers doesn't swap before the end of the year. I think Broncos probably are the betting favorites, but if you asked me to lay a little bit of money on the Chargers, I'd be like, they might do it.
I would have said Chargers if Joe Alt wasn't out for the year.
Correct.
Right. Like that's the killer. That's the killer for me.
Huge injury. We'll switch over to the NFC. NFC East. This one is Philly start to finish. We thought it was Philly. It is Philly. I think Philly ends up as the winner. Do you?
Yeah, not even a question to me, especially after last night. Like getting that win over Green Bay was huge as far as them keeping their distance. It's got to be.
Yeah, I agree. Now we get to the NFC North, one of the most competitive divisions in all of football. So in the summer, we had a split. You thought it was Detroit. I thought it was Green Bay. Currently, it's Green Bay. Oh, wait. Let's see. Currently, let me refresh after last night's loss. I think it's probably a 3-way tie.
I think it's tied at the top.
Yeah, hang on. All right. So, yeah, currently, officially from the NFL standings, Lions, Bears, and Packers. Lions 6-3, Bears 6-3, Packers 5-3-1. They ended up with the extra loss before this, strangely enough, because they had the tie, which meant one less loss. They were at the top. That game, 1 game swing, puts them from first to third. So currently, Lions lead the NFC North. Who will lead the NFC North at the end of the year?
As much as I want to say Chicago, because they've kind of been forged in the fires of adversity so far this year. Again, new head coach, new pieces on the offensive line, new weapons. Like there's been a lot of new there. Sustained injuries on defense, and Caleb's had fourth quarter comeback wins this year so far. So it's like they've been through a lot and they've triumphed through a lot. And so currently they're, again, neck and neck with Detroit. But I'm going to err on the side of experience, which is Detroit. It's one of those, until proven otherwise, I'm just going to lean that way. But that being said, I do think Chicago makes the playoffs. And if Detroit stumbles, like all they need is just one little stumble, Chicago can steal this from them. But if I had to choose, like if I had to put my life on it, I'd say Detroit.
I'm with you. I'm going to go Detroit, swap from my earlier pick of Green Bay. Again, one of the most competitive divisions in the entire NFL, but Detroit has found a way to win, and even with losing both their coordinators, has exceeded my expectations there. And they continue to evolve. Watching Dan Campbell take play calling duties last week and, sort of run away, open up the offense again. I think Detroit ends up the top spot here. NFC South. This one, much like the NFC North. We both thought Tampa Bay. It is Tampa Bay. Do you think Tampa Bay finishes out on top?
I mean, shit, they've already been through so much as far as injuries, and they're still on top. Carolina's plucky. Like, I thought for a second there, like, Carolina might have been able to scrap their way into it. Same thing with Atlanta, but the last couple weeks have just not been kind to either one of those teams. So I'll say Tampa.
All right. Now, down to brass tacks. NFC West. Thoughts in the summer. We were split. You said Rams if Stafford was healthy. I said Seattle because I thought Mike McDonald was really chafed a little bit at the end of last year, that he had the division in hand, ended up getting pipped at the line, and was going to kind of hold that close to his heart in a very sort of punitive way. Currently, Seattle leads this division. Who is going to win at the end of the year?
And by the way, I do think people understood at the time of me saying, I don't know if Matthew Stafford's healthy. If he is healthy, I lean the Rams that way because we didn't know if he was healthy at the time. So I'm totally okay with caveating that one. I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever. That caveat ended up not really mattering because apparently Matthew Stafford is fine, and he's been more than fine the entire season. Like, you would never know that apparently he was dealing with massive back issues basically the entire offseason. Maybe it's because he carries this franchise over and over and over again. He's been phenomenal this year. Like, he is one of the leading MVP candidates. To me, it's either him or Jonathan Taylor at this point. He has been, at least among quarterbacks, I think he has been easily a top 3 quarterback in the NFL this year. You could very easily argue top 1 in the NFL this year. He's been insane. And so because of that, I am very reticent to retract my pick. But,
however,
if there is one quarterback who has been outplaying Matthew Stafford, I'm not going to say this definitively because, quite frankly, I'm a coward and I don't want to fight about this right now. If there is one quarterback who has been outplaying Matthew Stafford, it's Sam Darnold up in Seattle. He has been insane, like historically efficient, especially down the field. JSN has been historically efficient. I think his yards per route run is like still 4.5, 11 weeks into the year, which I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Like, maybe Megatron and like Megatron's big season, like maybe he did that. But if we're comparing JSN to like prime Megatron, that's the kind of impact he's had. So you have inarguably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL so far this year as far as play, arguably top 1, and then inarguably a top 3 receiver, arguably top 1, working together, plus an elite defense, great coaching staff. Run game it exists, but everything else around him has been so dominant from start to finish this year. I think I am going to retract that pick and say Seattle, which I didn't think I would because the Rams are so damn good and Matthew Stafford is so damn good. But that's how dominant Seattle's been, that even as good as the Rams are, I'm still like, ooh, it's hard for me to pick anybody else other than them. I think at minimum, we're looking at one of the top 2 seeds in the NFC and probably the 4 seed in the NFC. Both of them are going to be in the playoffs. The only question is which one's going to be the 1 or 2 seed and which one's going to be the 5 seed.
Yeah, last 2 weeks, Seattle has absolutely run their opponents off the field. They have rolled out to 3-4 touchdown leads and basically said, it's over, go home. They are playing a dominant brand of football right now. So the rematch is coming. We are going to see Rams versus Seahawks in SoFi. So we'll have some definitive answers as to which team has the upper hand. That is going to be a huge game in determining not only the NFC West standings, but also the entire NFC standings at the end of the year. But lots covered in this show, some fun stuff, but we wanted to give you a sort of recap of what we said in the summer or how it started and how it's going, the bootleg version.
As always, thank you to everybody for watching and listening, however you happen to be watching and listening. Thank you to all of our lovely executive producers over on Patreon, Fitzy, Connor, Liam, Mike, Jack, Major, Owen, and Spencer, and Consty. Consty's back, isn't he, P? Welcome back, Consty. Again, if you are a patron, make sure to go vote on Shot of the Week. Even if you're not a patron, make sure to go vote on Shot of the Week. And if you are a patron, we also have bonus content coming later this week, as we do in every week. So thank you once again for watching and listening, and we will see you very soon.